Ois Yud. Der Chiluk Tzvishun, the Pirushim is the difference between the interpretation of Rashi and the Rambam. The Pirush Rashi is der Knas from Bilgo in Yonim Voeschanan Shaykh Euch zu Noshim. According to Rashi, the punishment for Bilga is also in matters that are connected to women. Varum Shechita, since we're punishing them with Shechita. Shechita is doch Kisheda Bezarim Ubenashim. It is okay, it's fit for non-Kahanim and women to shecht. Unafila lechatchila, even lechatchila, shoichatin besakin oruch, with a long knife, they can't go into the Azorah. So from the Ezras Noshim, with a long knife, they can shecht. Only from the part where you receive the blood and on is the mitzvah of kehuna. So that means that the punishment consisted in a spot, in a place, in an area where the woman can do. On the other hand, according to the interpretation of the Rambam, she was punished in such matters. There is no connection to women. They were punished, the Kohanim were punished for a woman, for Miriam Bas Bilga, but she herself had no connection to those matters. As Nitzu Hefshita Karbonis, which according to the Rambam, Tabas was used to skin the animal. If the Tabois Ba'azora, on the Tabois in the Azora, the woman is not allowed to be in the Azora. So she could not do the skinning. And the Rebbe also points the order from Tosfos, who clearly says that the Shechita is Kisheda by the Noshim, but not that the Tabois, the Hefshet, this was Kisheda by Zar, but not by Nashim. For sure, the other part, as the Rambam says, where the chaloinas were used for the garments of kahuna, women are not shaykhs to the big kahuna. That is for the purpose of the service. Women are not fit for doing the service. So, what is the reasoning behind it? So, the Rebbe explains that Yisoid from the Plukta Yeshleimer, we can say, what's the basis for this argument? The Das Rashi consentment the Mishmoro to Libun Tam Hashchemus. According to Rashi, we punish this group, this Mishmor of the Bilga family. Nor in Azel Chazach Masom Mashachet Zum Shochen Ro. Only in such matters that have a connection to this bad neighbor who caused this whole problem. To the Naida, that is this woman, Miriam, since she could have done these items, so the punishment consists in items that she could have done, and we say, no, this is closed for them. So the tabas, and the sakin where they held it, that's close. Ubemela is in them einesh ubizoyin. So therefore, this punishment and the shame, mudgash as dos kum to leave the nighter, then it's emphasized that it comes because of the nighter. So it extends to the shochin, to the nighter, something that she could do. But that's a Rambam Ober, or whatever, according to the opinion of the Rambam, is the Knas Euch in Yonim Vasobim zum Roshe the Naide Kishaychli. There's punishment is also in areas that have no connection with the Naide. What's the rationale between Rashi and the Rambam? Das ist verbunden mit den Klolis you can get it from Shchenes. This, the Rebbe ties in to the general definition of neighbor. Does the neighbor impact that there should be an inner connection, and it changes something as a neighbor. Bis das wird der Teuchel von Shachar, so that becomes the content that the neighbor is part of the neighbor over there. Other, so bleibt nur Shachar Chitzonis. There's only an external connection. Now this goes according to their view over here. The Shitas Rashi is the Shaykhs and Shchenes Nori and Neifel Chitzoni. According to Rashi's view, the connection from this neighbor's only external part. Und das peilt nicht im Hus von Schochen, this does not impact the neighbor itself. Kinal and so did the Bar Mitzvah, like we talked about, so did the Bar Mitzvah, that they're just neighbors, and the neighbor doesn't get anything inner in the field. It's just the neighbor has an obligation. As an obligation as the neighbor, but not the Levi buying the field from Reuven did not take away. There was nothing of Shimon in Reuven's field, the field that Reuven sold. And the same thing when a gate besides the fact that Rashi goes is by the Bar Metzora, also in general to Mefarer Zayin Pshuto Shel Dvorim, to explain the simple matter of things. Under Inyan von Kansinon lekula mishmeres. And this idea that we punish the entire mishmeres, the pshuti is, so simply, is menid v'aknas un edis umsad meroshin. That's only a penalty and a punishment for the Rasha. There's no reason in expanding it and extending it beyond. When the Father learned Rashi, that's what Rashi learns. As should be zoin, that also the punishment and the shame was that comes because of this neighboring. She is the neighbor to her parents and the tribe. Is not in an Indian. So where does this as express itself in a matter of shchita? That's only in shechting, which has some connection to the evil herself, the woman. Because this entire punishment, this entire neighbors that comes because of this Russia, this woman. So we can only punish in things that are connected to the woman. But according to the view of the Rambam, that the idea of this neighbor makes it a content connection. And in our case, what does it mean? As that when we say woe to the Russia, woe to the neighbor. So what does the neighbor mean? Not only the neighbor in an external part, which is oynesh hashochem, that the neighbor gets punished, but it actually, the evil that was done by the neighbor sort of extends to the neighbor. Not only the rishus, but the shchein is poiled in mahus from shochem, it poiled in the essence of the shochem. And that's why the punishment is going to be even in things that doesn't apply to the woman herself, to Miriam, also to the neighbors. And we can add, also say, as a gate was a gamlish days, that he also goes according to his view in the laws of days, that derech b'riyoseh shel adam niyes nimshach b'dei oisav u'b'maisav, that the way a person was created, that he follows in his ideas and his actions, after it goes after his friends, after his acquaintances, where is not mighty as he prolongs. B'meila, the Shchenes has a deeper connection. So Miriam was bad because this was part of the neighbors over there, part of the mishmar over there. The Mele is move on, so therefore it's understood as Oich der Oyne should be Zoyin. But also the punishment and the shame is need bagrenitz to inyonim is not limited to those matters on that only those, it's not limited to items which would specifically point as a result of the Rosh denied of the woman. As the Einesh, the punishment is mitzad rishus u'shochan gufa. The punishment comes because of the evil of the neighbor himself. They're also part of the thing. So therefore, we don't have to limit the punishment just to women, to Miriam, but it's the whole neighbor. And therefore, according to the Rambam, it was a general punishment that did not specifically point to the rishus of the of Miriam, of the woman. And here the Rebbe is going to tie it also in the two girsas, as we learned before, as it says in the Gemara and as it seems from Rashi. Yudalef, Al Pizeh is moving the Chelek. Also, we understand based on this the different simis goydes, whether we have the version Shenemar as in the Gemara Imru Tzadik Toiv Goymer Al Saraya, whether we use this posik as evidence as Toiv L'Tzadik Toiv L'Shchenei, because the posik says Imru Tzadik Toiv, as we will touch out exactly how the Raya is in the posik. The Rebbe will touch in a minute. Or the Modern Tzarish Misvarik and all of Svara, Rashi says Meruba Mida Toiv and Mida Paronis, but there is no posik for that. The Raya from posik Imru Tzadik Toiv Kiprim Aleim Yechelu. What is the evidence from the posik? Say a tzaddik is good, they eat the fruit of their actions is in pashtus. So what's the proof of it? Bal their posik heiptom beloshin yochi. Since the posik starts off imru tzaddik, that you say in a singular imru tzaddik kitov. Say a tzaddik is good, on his messiahim and is conclude beloshin rabbi. Ki prim alaleim yechelu. The fruits of their actions they will eat. Who's the they? It says he should eat. We should talk about the tzaddik. Is mochach, it's evident. As euch andere, that it's not only the tzaddik eats from it. The shchene von tzaddik, yochlu zusammen mit dem tzaddik von pri v'cholu. Together with the tzaddik, we're saying tzaddik is kitov, ki pri malaleim yechelu. The neighbors will eat as well, the shachan as well. But would seem in that case you should have said, the fruit of the actions of the tzaddik, the neighbors will eat. The Balzi asked the prayers for Malale HaTzadik, because they are the ones that are eating the fruit from the actions, from the doings of the tzaddik. So we should say, Primalolov, not Kiprimaleh. Now, does go from the Gemara with the Raif Pasuk, but that actually is what the Gemara means with the evidence of this verse. Because of this idea of the neighbors, is need nervous. It's not only that they get the result, the schar tzaddik, they get the reward, they get to eat the fruit because of tzaddik. No nachmer sees prima leleim. It's also they become like that. It's also their actions. As vert in ze ashinui. That it brings a shinui in them. The actions, the deeds of the tzaddik, the good deeds becomes also their maleim. So we're trying to say, not only does he impact them, it's the Rambam's svara that the shochan gets impacted by the neighbor. So the shochan of the actions of the tzaddik makes their actions better. But it's not their own. It's imru tzaddik kitay. It's a tzaddik. They alone are not the tzaddikim. Main bezog them tzaddik or the vegan them tzaddik shvach tzaddik shavach tzaddik. It's either we say the tzaddik itself imru tzaddik, tell it to the tzaddik, or you say about the praise of the tzaddik. For those was pri malalehem yechelu. Why is it the acts of the fruit of their actions they'll eat? Kum zu their shchenus. To leave their shchenus from tzaddik that comes because of their neighboring, being next to the tzaddik. They have learned from him, and they became different. But Rashi, as we learned before, doesn't believe a shochan has that type of impact, only an external impact. As move on, as the Shittas Rashi can now. This is understood that according to Rashi's view, as Inyan Ashkenis is nit poilim hus for shochan gufa, that the idea of neighboring does not impact the essence of the neighbor, not as bleibt Hashaychus Chitzenis, there's only an external connection. Or the Kenort need to bring in a Raya from Posuk doesn't make room here. There's no room here to bring evidence for a Posuk Imru Tzadik Yitoiv V'Goimer, in which it says that they're also becoming like the tzaddikim, but that's not Rashi's understanding from the meaning of a shochan. B'meila bringt the raya of toiv latzadik toiv l'shchenei. So therefore, Rashi brings the evidence that it's good for that tzaddik, good for the neighbor mitzad derasbore, because of the explanation the midah toiv meruba, that the good measure is more than the measure of raw. That's the proof. If you find in the negative side, the not good side, that because of the external neighboring of the Rosh is also it is woe to the neighbor is kolshkein. So for sure, the tzaddik is an inyan, that the neighboring to the tzaddik is an inyan from toiv tzaddik toiv l'shchenei, that it's toiv tzaddik from l'shchenei. It's just the external part, but it's not the pri yechelu malalehim as if it becomes there. Because according to Rashi, a shorchan only has an external impact. But why do we have to say that Rebbe explains in Oishid days that Merida Toiva Meruba? We should say just like Tzaddik Shochan is Oile Rosh L'Shor, same thing. Why do we need to say Meruba Mida Toiva? Why does Rashi have to say that? You base. As noch als nit glatik, it's still not so smooth, not smooth. So the was dartman das Rashi. Why do we need, according to Rashi, the onkumet zum prat? Why do we need that detail as Mida Toiva is Meruba? That the measure of good is more. Feel when the midah table will give gleich to the midah hofchis, even if they were equal, the good measure was equal to the opposite measure. Well, doch euch gewen genug zu ausführen, that would have been sufficient. Oile Rosh, oile Shchenei, woe to the Rosh, woe to the neighbor. Also euch tov l'tzadik tov l'shchenei, same thing, good to the tzadik, good to the neighbor. What do you need meruba midah tova midah? Is the beer in them? Das was man hat gekanzelt, mishmeres bilga. This that they punished the guard, the bilga, that kohanim when they served in that term, in that time, is doch nit given keneinish is at angerir b'pnimis inyona. That wasn't the punishment that impacted, that touched in an inner way. This was only an external point. They didn't take away the service from that group. I feel not even a part of it. What we're doing here is a shame, a degradation, something by any by a few details in the order of Avodah, there was something embarrassing over here. This fits with the general idea, both to the evil, what to the neighbor in a general way. The inyan from put on is ve'inish. Talking about punishment, talking about bad things taking place by a yid is not b'chitzonis. It's only an external. Punishments are only in the external part of a yid. When it's nitkin in your prim, it's not something internal, inner. Ukamaimer beim schwersten einish, and as we say, when it comes to the most serious sin, when a person gets misa, God forbid, so that over here in this world, you didn't make it because you didn't deserve as a punishment, but you are not going to be achur in Olam Haba. In Olam Haba, you'll be accepted. Masim to them was close in Arab. This fits that generally when we talk about the concept of bad by Eden is not a davar chitzoni, it's only an external matter. Unatofel, it's secondary. Noisev azaymitzias, that's in addition to his essence, his existence. Is b'meila ich der einish peroni is nor b'chitzonus of tisha. So therefore, the punishment, the bad that takes place, it's only externally, it's only temporary. But the meaning from Tevla Tzadik, Tevla Shchene, but when we tell you that it's good for the Tzadik, good for the neighbor, when we bring down good, that comes as being a neighbor to the Tzadik, that's a inner and an internal good. Was spoiled the Pnimis in the meeting, that impacts the inner of a Yid. Move on. And according to this, we understand. As is not maspik, it's not sufficient. Not sufficient. Then Tevla Tzadik, Tevla Shchenos is in the Zelber Mos, that it should be the same measure by the good to the tzaddik, good to the neighbor, just like it's bad to the tzaddik and bad to the neighbor. That wouldn't be proper. Warum wie gesagt? Because as we said, durch Shchenus Chitzoini zum Rasha, through this external neighboring of the Rasha, is euch die Peula Chitzoinis Dike. Then the effect is an external one. Dagegen durch Shchenus La Tzadik, through the neighboring to the tzaddik, afilo when is nor a shaykhus chitzonis, even if it's only an external one, or nit ken is kashus pnimi, and not an inner connection. Poil der tzaddik apulo pnimis, the tzaddik impacts an inner impact by the Eden Shchenim Tzim, by those the Yidden that are neighbors to him, when there is mamshech ze'at teva pnimis, and he gives them a inner teva. So it's not the same level, even though this is external, but the neighbors get a pnimis, even according to Rashi, which is a shachan, but by a toiv, they get it in a pnimis, and he gets them a toiv pnimis. The riber was Rashi zogen, that's what Rashi is saying, with the toiv meruba. It's more, because the meat is a mevur mudgesh. That's why it's explained and emphasized as the toiv l'shcheinei from a tzaddik, that the good of the neighbor for a tzaddik is apulo and abshocha pnimis. It's an act and it's something in the inside. Yud Gimel. In these zwei inyonim, these two matters, on one hand we say oy l'rosha, oy l'shcheinei. That is on the negative side, woe to the Rosh, woe to the neighbor. And on the positive side, we say tov l'tzadik, tov l'shcheinei. Good to the tzaddik and good to the neighbor. Is merumas der teuchen von Klolis dike zwei inyonim was einen do in shchenes and all. That is hinted the general two ideas which is in neighborhood, in neighbors. Bar Metzra und Toysha Shabbos v'Yom Tov. The pirush von Euler Rosh, Euler Shchein in Avodas Hashem. What does it mean? Woe to the evil, woe to the neighbor, as it is in the service of person. Der bitui oy, weist of tsar. The level of oy points to pain. Person's pain says oy. Like you see the nature of human beings. When a person finds himself in very deep pain, that expresses himself in the cry out, he screams out, Oi! Und in dem Zar von Avedas, if we talk about when a person is in great pain of his sin, is das Avedas HaTshuva. That is the service of Tshuva. Oi! Doing Tshuva was spoiled the Shviro bit from the Bra. That impacts, that affects the breaking and the negation of the bell. Und da seien die zwei Inyonim, and these are the two aspects of Oy LeRosha Chulu, Say, woe to the Rosh is the Shvira for Ra. Breaking the Ra. Das heißt, the Aveda von Sur Meira. That means to stay away from bad. Ubenefesh, what does it mean in the soul of the person? That Inyan, for Meridas, V'koy V'drosh, the idea of bitterness and seriousness. Koy V'drosh. That's Oy L'Rosh. What is Tov Latzadik? Is the Aveda von Asay Tov. That's the service of the positive. Ubenefesh, in the soul, the Kafun Simcha. That is the line of joy, of happiness. So when a Yid poils impacted by himself, these both matters, this also creates the oil also for the neighbor, the shviro bitlara, to breaking and negation of the ra, the taking away of the bad by the neighbor, and also the good for the shchene, the good by the shach. Was in Welt the klolu sein das die zwei Unionen. In the world in general, this impact negation is das bar metzora and toisu Shabbos v'yom. The laws of the bar metzora and the addition of the Shabbos v'yom. The different bar metzora is doch kipshutei. What is the law of bar metzora? Mechayiv, the mentioned sefidin zechei pertabay. That obligates the person to conduct himself against his nature. To give away the field that you bought, in order not to cause a loss, or even just a trouble that the other one may have. That's the side of staying away from that. Similar to also general idea about Metzger. This is by the field, by Gashmis, but we talk about when it's handled sich nicht wegen Yone Gedusha Mitzvah. When we're not dealing with matters that are holy in Mitzvah, nor b'shayches tzasode ukadema, but only as it relates to a field or similar, in Yone Rishus, optional matters, was dorten darf man beikir bavornen dem Sur Meira. Over there, we need to mainly make sure and take precautions not to get caught up in worldly matters, in Asode, in the Bar Metzra, not to get caught up in the bad. But when we talk about adding to Shabbos Yom Tov, so here we're talking about generally about doing good. So Moisir Zayin in Yom Shabbos Yom Tov, to add to the matters of Shabbos Yom Tov. This means a hisofa from Toiv Kedushin Welt. It means to add good and holiness to the world. Now, the pianal in Zweiten Pirush from Oil Rosha, Oil Shchene, second meaning of Oil Rosha, Oil Shchene, basically, we're talking about the level of tshuva here. Oil Rosha, meaning the woe, there's the bitterness, the level of tshuva. And Oil Shchene means that giving in other parts. So it's actually a positive Vitman Verstehen, was steht in Megala Mukis. This will explain to us that which it states in the Megala Mukis as Elul is a Rosh Tevis, Oil Rosh of Oil Shchene. That Elul has the abbreviation. The word Elul, Oy is the Aleph, L'Rosha is the Lamed, and V'Oy is the Vav, and L'Shchene is the neighbor, that's Elul. So it's very difficult to understand. One could ask, Elul is the Chachedesh HaRachamim V'Aslichis. Elul is a month of compassion and forgiving. The most for Hashaychus, what does to me in Apuronia? So what does it have a connection to the matter of punishments from Oil Rosh of Oil Shchene to woe to the evil and to the neighbor? Their Pirush is Al Pi Hanal, but the meaning is based on the above. As Oil Rosh means Shvira Sarah. Woe to the Rosh is a scream out, it's a yell out, it's breaking the out through the Tshuva V'Chodesh Elul, through the Tshuva Chodesh Elul. Oil Shchene meant That means with the Shviras Hara from Chodesh Elul is poiled oichai from Shochen. It impacts also the neighbor, Zman HaSomach LeChodesh Av. Also that the month of Av should also be, that's the Shochen, the Oil Rosha, that the Tshuva that we have is screaming out because of the mistake, the failures, the Russia, the scream out, also helps the Shochen, also help the month of Av. Not only Elul, but also Av, the Bir Bazeh. Explaining this. Steht in Zohar. Zohar says it's Kedoshim, as the Chadoshim was given to Yaakov Avinu. The month that belonged to Yaakov, seine Nisan, Iyar, V'Sivan. Okay, those are holy months. Nisan, Pesach, Siris Aimer, Sivan is Shavuos. But then we talk about seemingly that Esau was supposed to take equal to Yaakov 3 months. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. So he should have taken Tammuz over now. If he's not, Esau gedacht the Midrash Chadoshim. But we know he took Tammuz. She was with Tammuz and Tisha B'av. Tammuz and Av. The Zohar says he took the 2 months. V'yu lo yishtakach v'yis abid, and then he's not found anymore after Tammuz and Av, and he's lost. Elul lavdilay. Elul is not his. Not only doesn't he have all of Chodesh Av, but the Chodesh Av Gufa Zayin Nor Tes Yom Mitmer. Only 9 of the days belong to Esau, but not more. But from them is Muban. This we understand as a an Unterschied zwischen Chodesh Av, noch Tisha B'av, und Elul. That there is a difference between the month of Av after Tisha B'av and Elul, and they're not the same as the whole Av. Just, Tammuz and part of Av, basically. The Ribber is Oil Rosh and Merumas of El Gufa. So the Rosh, that's true of El. Damut Sebrach Rav Rosh Mikoroi from totally. That's not an addition. As we get to Machatchila Kenachizanit, that he never gets a grab to take hold in the Zman. Hagam Erod Gidav Geheden Tzulum Hazeh, even though he needed to the other side because he needed 3 months, but we never gave him anything. Und Oile Shcheinei, that also with the Zman from Oile Elul, Poil Shvira Sarah Oichin Shcheinei. The way it impacts breaking the rod, that is in the month of Zman HaSomchloi, as Oich B'Chodesh Av, that also in the Chodesh month, is from Tisha B'av Eilach. Once the Tisha B'av and on, is Abed Yishtakach, he's lost, we don't find him anymore. So it's not the same as Elul, but it's Gam L'Shcheinei. The Riber, so the Korban Esanov, that's what the Korban Esanov says. Those was is Verd Gizok, when we say about the month of Av, the one who has a judgment with the guy should slip away. That's only make this not business man for Noch Tisha B'av. Only means up to the time that follows Tisha B'av, but after that, that's already l'shcheinoi level of Teshuvah. Otherwise, the Megala Mukas is not understood. Why does it have to do with Elul? But now we're saying Oil Rosh is Tshuva, breaking Oy for the Rosh. Tezvah. But the Tachlis from Shira Sarah, the goal of Shira Sarah, durch dem zukommen, Haisof Oichen Hasei Toiv in Gidoir. The ultimate goal is that through this, there should come an addition also in doing good and revealing light. So that's the ultimate goal, is not just to break the Rasha, the Tshuva, is also, but to add. Also, the ultimate of breaking the Ra in the month of Av, that through that we get additional light, that Inyan Fun Menachim of comforting of. After we are able to impact of breaking the judgment and the bad, jeden Tag von the Tisha Yomim, every day of the 9 days, Verder of Gufe Menachem of itself becomes the comforting. Bis man kommt zu you reach to Nachama B'Kiflayim, double comfort. Nachamu Ami. Bis till to Noicha Achemchem, I Hashem are the one who comfort you. The Noch geht nach rein Chodesh Elu, then you go into the month of Elul versus Chodesh Arachamim, the month of mercy, compassion, the Amshachim, give them Sarachamim, bringing down the attributes of mercy, V'chazayin L'mayla Mishtalsos, which are higher than Shtalsos. This is the Agdome. This is an introduction to the Ksivach Simatoiva B'Rosh Hashanah, to be written and signed, good seal on Rosh Hashanah. Jeder einer und einer, each one and one, every man, every woman, wird nichter v'nechtam becomes written and sealed. The altar immediately, the Sifra Shal Tzadikim Gemurim, in the Sefer of the complete Tzadikim. This is Mesichas Chof Menachem Ov, Tovshin Yudaled, and Bov Tishrei Tovshin Chof Ches.